Hey y'all, I'm back again to share a journal that I just finished up. So this is, I don't know if any of you watched my curved spine tutorial. This was the book that I started with the felt, kind of like a flannel. It's not felt, it's kind of like a flannel fabric with all the little trucks and stuff on it. So I had this already put together, and I added this little stripe ribbon on the front and on the back, and I made this into a really cool little boy journal. And I love the way this one turned out. I hope I'm in frame. Yeah, because this one's rather large. I mean, it's not huge, but it's chunky and it's just packed full of fun stuff. And it is, let's see, let me measure it. It is 6.5 by like 9 3/4. It has 5 signatures, and I did the buttons a little bit different. I tied the buttons on the outside of the spine this time, which is kind of cool. I thought I'd try that because with the 5 signatures, it's kind of hard to get them spaced like you want them. And tied it with this little tie. I just took 2 pieces of fabric and stitched them together. So I took a piece of sheet, which I love this blue stripe, and then this red and white gingham check fabric, and just stitched it together to make the tie. I thought it went really well with this book. And then I posted some pictures on Instagram, and I had a little bit different cluster here, but I just wasn't feeling it, and I don't think, I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, so I took it off and added this little car. It's like a little chipboard car, and a little label and a vintage button, and then put these little chipboard stars, and then this little piece of fabric on the back. And I just thought it just fit better with the book. You know, sometimes you do something and you're just not feeling it. So I kind of struggled with this cover. But as you can see on the side, I put this big, huge vintage button here. And then I glued another little vintage button on top of it to hold it. This one was sliding around a little bit more for my comfort, so I kind of glued that in. But these do slide a little bit just because they're tied on, okay? And this one's coming. So they're tied on with this linen, wax linen thread. So there's 2 of my homemade ones, and the rest of them are vintage buttons. And then I made the charm, and I did the charm with the hemp twine. I did not do the charm with the wax linen thread. I'm finding that, well, I love them both and I use them both, but I'm finding that with the wax linen thread, they tend to tangle a little bit more, and with the hemp twine, they don't tangle quite as bad. But the back side of that is you have to use beads and buttons and things that have larger holes, because you can't, sometimes this hemp twine is really hard to get through some of the beads that have smaller holes in them. But anyway, so I put this really cool weathered vintage button here, on here, some beads. There's like glass beads and clay beads, and more vintage buttons, a vintage little master key, game pieces, little dice. Those are vintage. I really like the way the charm turned out on this one. So you just kind of flip that up, get it out of the way. And there's, like I said, there's 5 signatures. There are 100 pages. Look, I made myself a note. So there's 100 pages total in here. So that gives you 200 total pages. I put a rather healthy pack of extra goodies in here for you to use, and that'll be a surprise. And then some fabric pieces and scraps for you to use throughout the book. And then this envelope, as some of these were actually gifted to me, and I won't ever use them all, so I thought I would share. So you'll get that as well. And then I made a I covered the inside with cardstock and I stitched around it and glued that in, and then made a pocket here with fabric and some buttons. So it is loaded with scrapbook paper, vintage, dictionary, the tablet paper, cardstock, and I bought myself that punch when I was in Texas, which I love, so I've been using that some here and there. There's music paper, you know, the pockets, made the pockets in here, more cardstock. This came from another Edith Holden book. I just stitched that up. So you can use these as flaps. You can take them out, you can cut them out, and you can use these little pieces as collage if you want to. Scrapbook paper, I made a little tab here. And that's the inside of this signature. And I put little buttons. Most of these are vintage buttons in the signatures. This is just a little tuck, a little cluster tuck spot up here. But this one, I love the way this one turned out. Turned out really cute. It lays really flat, even though it's really chunky. And it was just a lot of fun to make. I've been working on it for a little bit. And it is just packed full of all kinds of fun stuff. This was a Eloise Wilkins page from one of the childcraft books that I absolutely adore. And I just stitched it in. So again, you can use that as an additional page, or you can take it out and use it somewhere else if you want to. I think it would be really pretty simple, you know, to cut these out if you want. And this just gives you the little edging on the page. So anyway, so that's the first signature. And then the second signature, I stuck a little Richard Scarry envelope that I made. It is not tacked down right here. So, you know, you can go in and tack that down. I just left it so you could kind of do what you want to with it. Some writing paper, more, I love this little story, Christopher the dog, or it's about Christopher, I think it's about the dog. Anyway, that came from another childcraft book. This is an envelope, there's little, there are little journaling cards tucked in most of the pockets in the book, as well as the extra stuff that you'll get. And this is a little vintage milk tab. I just put one little piece of this paper. I love this scrapbook paper. It has all the definitions. It has like mischievous and dirt and trouble and truck and explore. And I just put that little piece there to cover up the labeling on this envelope. And then you can add more things here. Add a picture, journaling, whatever you want. I tried to do some embellishing. I'm trying to back off of, you know, not doing so much embellishing, but adding you fun little things, giving you plenty of space to do your own thing and to make these your own. Look at all those frogs. I added one of my hidden paper clips. Let me show you. Of course, don't be prepared, Carla, with something that you can tuck up underneath there. So you can take and tuck things here, and they work really well. Okay. So that is the front side of the paper clip, which is actually a pocket. There's a little tag in there. And then that's the back side. The other side of the envelope. And I just put a little paper trim there to add something to it. I added some little washi tape here and there. Some of it was to reinforce in the signature. Some of it was just for decoration. I made some little envelopes. I don't know if any of you have ever seen, I think her name is Lollipalooza, but I watched her do these and I thought it was really cute, where you make the little envelope. I haven't put anything in here. And then you just punch a hole and you put your twine in there and you tie your button and you wrap it around. Wrap it around, and then you just wrap it around your button like that, and it closes it. I thought that was really, really cute. So I made some like that, and I added one in here. And I just clipped it in so you could use it wherever you want to. You can move it around. Another pocket here. The end of that signature, and then this is the third signature. And I took one of my little embellishments that I made out of some flashcards, and I stitched it in. I came over on the page with it because if I came too far out, I didn't want this all sticking out and getting torn up. So I came in a little bit, but it makes a little pocket. So I stitched it like that. This is an envelope, and this is a recycled envelope. I had a whole bunch of them from work where when we do different types of things at work and we have stuff, people have to mail stuff in. I had all these white envelopes, and I'm like, I really don't want to toss those. I can use them. So what I did was I cut it down on one side, kind of took it apart, in other words, and cut it down on one side and made big pockets. So I collaged. I just put really cool vintage. This was like a little workbook, and I thought it was really cool. And I think these are neat. You can, you can gesso over this or paint over this or just put a picture over it and, kind of journal on top of it. So it makes two big pockets. So you got a big pocket on this side, and then on the other side you got another pocket where I collaged and did the same thing and stitched it up. I thought that was really cool. I'm gonna do that some more. And here's a big Richard Scarry page I love. More dictionary, vintage dictionary page. This came from Texas. This was a ledger that I found. It was like an old record book, like a soft ledger, and it didn't have a lot of writing in it, which I love, so that gives you a great place to write. More scrapbook paper, more of the little workbook. Some old kind of, this is like a dot matrix type printer paper that Phaedra had given me. And then these were the folders that I found at a little thrift store in Texas, and I thought they were so cool. Perfect size. So use this in the middle of this signature and put pockets and put you some journaling, and some of the little journaling tags from the paper collection that I used in here. And just some little brick rack trim and vintage buttons, and then kind of collaged and stitched on both sides. So I thought that was really cool. And I'm thinking about maybe doing some little embellishment kits like that using those folders, but add that to my want to do lists, projects to do. This book has just got a ton of space, a ton of really fun stuff. I used a lot of my, when I put these together, I really try to use my favorite things, things that I love and things that I would want to use, in my boys' journals. I wish I had known about this or done this when my kids were little, because I have boys. So here's the other pocket here, and just use some old vintage dictionary, and then some more of that ledger. This paper right here is actually a vintage wallpaper, and from a little, this is from a child magazine that Jessica had sent me. I just pulled some little images out of that, and then put this on the back. I love the way those turned out, that and that file folder. This is just a little tab. This is off the front of the paper pad. I usually cut those little blocks out where they give you samples of the paper, and I just make little tags and tabs out of them. This is the fourth signature, another little pocket. I added one of my little handmade tags using index cards, and these were vintage index cards and file folders, and vintage tickets that I picked up. I think these came from the Brown Pair. And then these little images came from KB and Friends, and some ticking. I love making those little tags. I still have a bunch of them. Some map page. It's a pocket here and a little pocket here. Added a little piece from the scrapbook paper that I use. More cardstock. This is that wallpaper, and I picked this up in Texas too. More writing paper. And this writing paper here came from a tablet, a recycled tablet from work, and this paper is pretty thick. It's a nice, it's not thin like, it's not as thin as some of the other writing papers are. Just a cardstock for the signature, in the middle of the signature on this one. You can add pockets, whatever you want. Took another one of my embellishments that I made and made another little pocket here, stitched it on. On the back side of this, just to give this some reinforcement here, I used a little label. And then I added one of my little pockets that I had made out of little paper bags with an image from one of those Mother Goose books that I used, and just some collage and just a little tag in there. And again, I just clip this in so that you can move it around where you want. Or ledger, the other side of that map, so that's another pocket, a little pocket here. So I think this would be a really, you know, this would be a great journal. You could journal in this for quite some time. You know, a couple of years, I think, or well, maybe not a couple of years, but you could definitely get, you know, depending on how much you journal or what you want to document, got quite a bit of space in here. So this is a little chipboard that came in some Happy Mail from a while back, and I apologize, I can't remember who sent me. She sent me a bunch of little boys stuff, but it's a little chipboard piece, the little dirt never hurt. So you can add, so I didn't add anything here, but you could add a little charm or something here on the little chain. I made an envelope for the middle of this one, a Curious George book page. This came from one of the old Childcraft books. Little pocket here. This is another little pocket here. This is just a file folder. And this is another double paper clip. This is just a banner. And it's got a little bit of fabric and a little saying here that says "boy and noise" with dirt on it. Thought that was cute. That came from the paper line. Then the back side is just a little coin envelope that you can put something in. And I just collaged 2 little pieces on there. I didn't do it. It was really simple, nothing real complicated. This is some of my mixed media tea-dyed paper, and then the scrapbook paper, and then this is the back, and I did another little pocket on the back and added some other little, these are just some little strips of things from some old stuff that I had that I thought would be cute in here, and a little bag. So that's in the back. And then that is the back of it. So I'm really happy with how this one turned out. It was a lot of fun to make. And this one is available in my Etsy shop if you're interested. And you know, it looks heavy, but it's not super heavy. But it's definitely a sturdy book, because I made the, you know, if you watch me do the curved spine on this one is a recycled book from a huge atlas, and I got 2 journal covers out of it. I did the little girl journal and then this one, and I love this blue, so I kept it. And if you'll notice, just a little disclaimer on this one, the edges on this end are not finished off, but to me you can't even tell it. The finished edges are on these sides and up at the top, but this is where I cut it down here. But looking at it, probably if I hadn't told you that, you wouldn't even be able to tell it. You can't tell it. It's not going anywhere. It's a great like that canvasy type cover. And I love the navy, so for the boys book, I just left it like that. But anyway, so thanks for watching. And if you're interested, this will be available in my Etsy shop. And I hope everybody is having a wonderful day, and happy Mother's Day. If I can get this loaded, you know, before tomorrow, which is actually Mother's Day, but I'm going to say happy Mother's Day to everybody now. And thank you for all your love and support. And I'll see you soon. Love you. Bye.